first down. The handoff to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, INDY. And again, it's picked up. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with his second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go. A pick six for the Maniac.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What is going on, Colts Nation, and welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. Well, it is officially draft season. The 2021 offseason is here, and so this is our first look at our first mock drafts for this 2021 NFL draft upcoming in April. And so, Derek, you're going to drop, man, your first mock draft of this offseason for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, keep in mind, the Colts have 7 picks coming up in this 2021 draft as it stands right now. So, Derek, without further ado, I'll let you take it away at pick 21.
All right, so Derek Larger mock draft 1.0. And again, everybody, this is just the first mock draft. We're still about a good 3.5 months from the draft itself. So a lot of things are going to change, but this is just how we're going to look at it from the beginning. All right, so with the first pick in this draft for the Colts, I have them selecting Alex Leatherwood, the offensive left tackle from the University of Alabama. This guy has a very, very massive frame, one of the bigger offensive linemen in this whole draft for sure. He has great strength. He's pretty well balanced in his pass protection and run blocking, and due to his sheer size, you know, when he's run blocking on the edge, a lot of guys are not going to be able to handle that kind of size. And he actually has had some flexibility to play on the inside and outside. He has done a little bit of both at Alabama. So, you know, you have that position flexibility that we know Chris Ballard really enjoys. He likes guys like that you can move around if things need to be done that way. So there, I think, you know, there's been a few names that the Colts have really kind of talked about, like with, you know, Colts media have kind of thrown Eichenberg out there. They've thrown out Slater, and Leatherwood's been another one that's been thrown out there if he's around at 21. So I think the Colts will go and throw their money at the big, massive Alex Leatherwood from Alabama.
I like that pick because you get your franchise left tackle for the near future, and then your offensive line's pretty much complete there for the next 5-10 years, honestly. So I really think that's awesome, dude. I like that pick.
There you go. All right, so the second pick for the Colts, I have them selecting Carlos Basham Jr., an edge rusher out of Wake Forest. Now, I'll be honest here. After looking at some of this, I think this guy might potentially fall if he doesn't show some improvement, because what we look at here with Carlos Basham is, and this could be another guy that the Colts might get if we trade back and we get some more picks in the second round. This might be somebody they would target because this guy also has a really nice frame. 6'5", 275 pounds. Really big guy as an edge rusher, so he's not small. He's got really good size. He's hard to move. I mean, obviously with that size, it's hard to move anybody that big. And he's well-balanced, and he does really well in the run game. He's a good anchor on the edge. Reminds me a lot of like a Danico Autry, you know, a guy that, you know, even though Danico Autry, I think, is a little better at creating his own kind of pressure, he's a guy that, you know, if you stick on the outside, he's not going to get bullied by any tackle that you have out there because he's got good size. He has had 20 sacks as an edge rusher since becoming a full-time starter in 2018 when he was a sophomore. So, you know, he definitely has shown the ability to make sacks. And he has a really good motor, which has resulted in quite a few tackles. I think they said he's had over 70 tackles as an edge rusher at Wake Forest. So, you know, does really well. And he fits well in our scheme at 4'3". So I think that works for him. Some of the cons that come with Carlos Basham, though, he's not super athletic. You know, I mean, if for somebody that size, I wouldn't anticipate it. Still has to improve on his pass rush. His big issue was when he was facing tackles that didn't get bullied by the bull rush, he oftentimes struggled with trying to create his own. So that's something he's going to have to learn if he's to be brought in. But like I said, this guy could fall back further, which is why I think the Colts might go after him, but basically has the intangibles to be a really solid defensive end. He's just going to have to learn to create a better pass rush.
Yeah, and that's something that I like that, because I think that's obviously the most much needed position on the defense. So now you've arguably tackled the first two biggest position needs outside of maybe quarterback on this roster. So I like that a lot. I definitely think those two guys would provide a lot of spark, would provide a lot of, potential star power there at those key positions. So like we've always said, you always need more pass rush. So I like that, man. I like that pick.
All right, with third pick here, the Colts will select Paulson Adibo, cornerback from Stanford. So we're staying with the defense here. Has great size at 6'1", is about 190 pounds, so not a small cornerback by any stretch. He's actually used to playing in zone when playing with the Stanford defense, so he's used to playing in a zone scheme, which is great for the Colts. The Colts love it. They're big corners. They're big outside corners that can play in zone coverage. But the great thing with playing with Stanford is Adibo has played in every kind of scheme. So he really does fit anywhere, which is great. I think it would be great to use him on the outside. You can mix it up. He reminds me a little more of like a Marvell Tell, has good size and good physique. And he has good flexibility in his hips. He's been told to be very loose. He definitely is not afraid to, just use his hips in every way, shape, or form. He's very good at staying with his guys. And also, he's not afraid to attack the ball in the air. I think that's something that a lot of corners are hesitant to go for when they're, going for that 50-50 ball. But Adibo is a very aggressive corner when, going for that 50-50 ball, which sometimes doesn't go in his favor. That's why sometimes he gets a few different penalties on him. But he's aggressive. He's very solid in his hips. He's got great size. He's played in every kind of scheme you can imagine. So I think this could be another great cornerback option if the Colts are wanting to go with a corner later in the draft.
Okay. So I'm anticipating, since you drafted a corner this early, you're probably either not re-signing Xavier Rhodes for one or TJ Carey, which is totally understandable, especially more TJ Carey. I could totally understand that. He's getting up there in age a little bit. He was a pretty decent piece, but yeah, adding another corner, arguably the second most important need on this defense, in my opinion. And you get Marvell Tell back as well to pair with Xavier Rhodes potentially and Rocky Ascent. I like that, man. And also Isaiah Rodgers too. So that would make a really solid cornerback group, in my opinion. You get a guy with that kind of size and that kind of upside. I mean, yeah, I would definitely love that. And the similar thing, talking about good size, like Xavier Rhodes has some pretty good size too. So we know how good he played in this zone defense as well, especially working with Jonathan Gannon, the defensive backs coach. So I like this pick. I like a corner there at 3.
Apologies, BTJ Nation, but unfortunately I have to do a retake on this next draft pick, because when we initially shot this one, it was right before all these guys started declaring, and unfortunately one of the people that I had put here at this pick did not declare and is returning for their senior year. So unfortunately, I have to redo this pick for you all. But I do have someone else that I do have wanting to come in, and I will give that pick to you now. And that would be Baron Browning, the linebacker from the Ohio State University. Baron Browning certainly has a good reputation and good physical strength to him. When you're 6'3", about 245 pounds, Baron Browning is definitely great size. Was a 5-star linebacker coming out of high school. Very good, solid linebacker. I think what's great about him is his splashy plays. You find him making a lot of great plays and a lot of great things every now and again, which is awesome for a linebacker. He makes a lot of plays that, just really shock everyone. He has a great way of getting to the quarterback. That was one thing that he did very well. And tackling is a great thing for him. Like I said, he's got great length, great burst. So he fits really well in the scheme that we try to run. You can put him at a will linebacker or inside linebacker due to his size. And that's just ultimately what he is. You can even allow him to blitz, which again, I said he gets to the quarterback. He does a really great job of tackling. He knows how to do that stuff. Ultimately, the biggest issue that you have with him is just a lot of times, he gets out of place at times, a few different times, but, just think of him as Anthony Walker, but just a little more athletic. That's basically he's a good tackler. He's very strong. He's just a little bigger and a little faster. So that's basically what it is for him is, he gets out of place at times, but he has all the physical skills necessary to make this. So that's why I have Baron Browning going in the 4th round. This could be a guy that maybe potentially climbs up when we get to look at what kind of numbers he puts up at his pro day. All right. And this one here is one of the few picks that I actually think might rise depending on what he does if he gets invited to the combine. This guy here, I know, Cody, you'll like this one because he plays a very special position, and I know you'll love it. Okay, I just want to make sure I get the right last name here. So with the 5th pick, Tyree Gillespie, and it's a safety from Missouri. Okay, so people probably know this guy's name. He's not a very flashy player, but this guy plays a lot like Kahari Willis. I know you love Kahari Willis. This guy plays a lot like him. Let me explain a little more. 6 foot tall, so he's got good size. He's actually played multiple positions all throughout his life. He played multiple positions in high school. He played probably, I think they said 3 different positions in high school. And then in college, he transitioned to safety. And the great thing is he's a special teams guy. He played special teams in high school. He played special teams in college. So I know you, Cody. I know you love your special teams guys. We know Chris Ballard and the staff loves their special teams guys. So this is another one of those. He was an athlete in high school. He played running back, receiver, safety, linebacker, corner. He played everything, man. He knows how to do this. He plays fast. He plays hard. There's a lot of great highlight clips out there of him hitting guys real hard, showing his authority. We love that about our safeties and our corners. We pride our team on being that way. Unfortunately, though, that's also the downfall of Tyler is that, in playing hard and physical, sometimes you lose the mechanics, and that's what ultimately gets him in trouble at times. But again, a great young guy that has good size, has played multiple positions. You can put him in special teams right away because I think that's what the Colts really want. And then, you use him as a rotational piece or in certain situations when you want to. And like I said, just a special teams guy that you can throw in a lot of different areas. I think this is just in round 5 or even in round 4. If they decide would go with him in round 4, just a great piece that you can put anywhere that you want to. And I think that's just worth the whole pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, young, versatile defensive back that screams Ballard all day long. So, like that one.
All right, 6th pick. I'm going to have to make sure I get this last name too, because this one got me the first time I did it. So, it's Josh Imatorbhe. Okay, so that is a last name and a half. But let me explain here. He's a wide receiver out of Illinois. Okay, I watched him a little bit at the beginning of this year. So this is one that a lot of people consider as an under the radar kind of athlete. You oftentimes don't really see him until you actually look at his athletic ability and you realize just how raw of a prospect he is. And the reason he falls so far down is because for the position that he plays as wide receiver, he's not a great route runner. I'll just be honest. He's not a great route runner. There's a lot of things to be desired there. But, in the NFL, I think you can teach guys to get better at route running. But again, this is a guy that's 6'1", 210 pounds. He's a great vertical threat. He can go up and get the ball. He's very fast, very strong, and he can go up and get it. He's got a 37-inch vertical, so he definitely can go up and get the 50-50 ball. I think this is just the ultimate kind of pick right here in round 6 where you're going for an athlete. You're going for an athlete. You want to try to groom them into whatever you want them to be. And in a few years down the road, this could be a potential option.
Yeah, this screams to me Marvell Tell and also a Desmond Patman type of pick. Really freak kind of athlete type of guy that he's kind of a project, probably won't see the field in year one, maybe not even year two. But yeah, man, if you can tap into that potential, I like this pick. It's more, that's what I feel like these later rounds should be, right? More project players, guys with tremendous upside that you're like, okay, like if we can just tap into this physical ability and like help it translate to the NFL, man, the sky's the limit. So I like this pick. Adding to your wide receiver core, I do think potentially you could address it in free agency wide receivers. So maybe you get a guy a little bit later on. So I like that.
All right. And the last pick here and some more help on the offensive line. And that is Ben Brown, the interior offensive lineman from Ole Miss. So this guy is what a lot of people call a fundamentalist. He's a guy that, really prides himself on trying to be as good with his feet and hands as he can. The only issue is when you're that kind of way, you oftentimes lose an important aspect in the game, and that's speed and strength. You're sacrificing your speed and your strength for trying to go through the steps. And I understand that. But Ben Brown has a really good stature about him. He's 6'4", 6'5", 315 pounds. So he has the size to play on the interior. And, it's one of those guys that, like we've seen from a couple other guys, may not get to see the field for a while. But I feel that you allow this guy to get a little more strength and you get him to learn behind some of these other offensive linemen. And he's got great role models if you bring him in. I think that strength and that speed picks up over a couple years. And then this guy's going to be, a potential role piece for this team going forward.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I like that.
All right. So that's going to do it for my mock draft. You got an offensive tackle. You have an edge rusher, cornerback, interior defensive lineman, a safety, wide receiver, and another offensive lineman. Kind of covered the entire spectrum there. Just no quarterback. I think a lot of people probably be upset that I decided not to go quarterback in this scenario, but we will just have to see as time goes along. But I just think right now the Colts are going to look more towards beefing up those offense and defensive lines and then providing some help in the secondary a little bit more.
Yeah, another pick that I was surprised you didn't take was another offensive lineman or wide receiver like in the third or fourth round. That's what I was a little bit surprised on, because we know that, we talked about the lack of depth last season on that offensive line. And then, wide receiver, you could potentially, hit a home run. Like I know like KJ Hamler went the fourth round, and, he's turned into a pretty nice receiver himself. That's just one example. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really solid mock draft, man. KJ
Hamler should not have fallen to that far. I'll just say that there is no way that man should have made it past the third round. I mean, that's just on every other team that picked in that time. But, that's the beauty of the draft. You got some guys fall that, you didn't think would, and you just steal them. I mean, that is true. But, I'm just thinking from that moment in time, I did look at a coverage linebacker. I did try looking at like the fourth round, but I wanted to kind of go more corner versus linebacker at that point. So, I didn't find anybody that really appealed to me in regards to the coverage part of it all. So that's why I refrained from going linebacker in this draft specifically. But again, we'll just start to see more of these pieces go along, what becomes more important to the Colts. We're going to find out. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this mock draft. Let me know what you all think. Let me know if there's somebody else we should look at. And then we'll have Cody's mock draft up shortly after this one. Not sure exactly when, but like I said, we're going to have both of these up before the end of January, and we're going to do one each month leading up to the draft. So don't worry, there'll be plenty of these coming, and I'm sure some things will definitely change. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.